Hey, YouTubers, happy Monday to all my crime fighters and true crime junkies out there. I hope everybody's had a good weekend. Uh, if you watch the Super Bowl and you're a fan of the 49ers, and if you're watching the Super Bowl and you're a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, and if you were watching the Super Bowl and you're a fan of Usher, okay. Obviously, I'm not a football fan. I just happen to be married to a rabid Kansas City Chiefs fan. And so, thankfully, the football season is over. So, wanted to start a new series, and I apologize. I had a lot going on this weekend. I've been dealing with a lot of nerve pain that affects the left side of my body, and I spent most of Friday and Saturday night, or most of Friday and into Sunday morning, laying on a heating pad. It was pretty rough. I am feeling a little bit better today. Had a lot of pain in my left arm, numbness and tingling. My heart's fine, so if you're worried about that,
it's not a tumor.
It's not a heart attack, or it's not heart related. I did get some good news. My rheumatology appointment has been moved up, so I'm very grateful for that. So wanted to start a new series, and I apologize. I wanted to get this video out to y'all last week, or by the end of the last week. So I'm starting a new series called You Don't Know Your Rights. And I want to start with the First Amendment. All right. But before I get into that, I want to explain something about what criminology is and what it's not. And I think the best way to describe criminology is with a quote. Now, it's been attributed to a couple of different people, but Albert Sins-Georgi says discovery is simply seeing what everyone else has seen, but thinking what no one else has thought. Criminology is very much the same way. You rely on precedent. You rely on your past knowledge, but as a criminologist, you tend to think of things in a different way than other people do. And so I think if you notice, my videos do tend to are leading up to something, but I think it's important to kind of have a grasp on why criminology is important and how to apply it. So, I mean, really, you could look at my YouTube channel as kind of a master's class in applied criminology. I've gotten some good feedback. I know my channel is very basic. I'm using my smartphone. I'm using a small light setup, and I've got a squeaky chair. Not a whole lot I can do about that at the moment, but hopefully the channel blows up and I can, afford to hire some assistants and, make the production a little bit better. But you know what? Until then, let's just have fun with it and see where it takes us. Okay. So First Amendment. And of course, that's the right to freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, right to petition, and right to peaceful assembly. Okay. It's very basic. And it's the very, very First Amendment. Now, the framers wrote the Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. They wrote it out in a very specific way. And if you will notice, if you're a student of history, which if you're a criminologist, you ought to be, because there's a lot of history that goes into understanding criminology. So back in the 1700s, when America was a struggling nation and they were at odds with England, taxation was a big problem. The British controlled pretty much everything the colonies did, and they suppressed a lot of negative thought and negative expression about the monarchy. And that's why publications like the Federalist Papers and Thomas Paine's Common Sense uh, are so important. At the time, they were considered seditious and were actually punishable, and which is why uh, they were kind of like the penny dreadfuls at one time. Like, people had them, but you didn't really discuss them unless you really, really knew your company. And so, moving on from that, I want to talk about uh, freedom of religion, petition, and assembly specifically because there's not really a whole lot to those. Um, I am gonna kind of bring up a few things about freedom of religion, uh, and it's going to be a little longer video. I am trying to make shorter videos so y'all can get through them in a in one sitting, easier time. So I'm trying to stay under 15 minutes, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm running right at 6. So I'm going to get going. All right. So the right to petition. That means that the people that belong to a city, county, state, or the United States can petition any level of government to effect change. Whatever they think that change is, change in laws, change in policy, it really doesn't matter. All right, you can petition for anything. Now, you have the right to petition, which means the politicians in charge, they cannot come back to you, and they cannot try to imprison you. They can't try to take away any rights from you simply because you have a petition to stop them. Now, there have been petitions. There have been recount elections based on petitions. Change.org started under the Obama administration as an effective quick link to the White House to effect change through petition. That's the 21st century version of the First Amendment, freedom of petition. It's been misused because a lot of people, it goes to extremes. You know, you go to the far left, and people are just asking for off the wall things, and then you have people on the right, and they want the right to buy tanks and nuclear warheads and all this stuff. And then you've got, and of course, I'm talking extremes. I mean, any normal person would look to the far left and the far right and go, y'all are insane. All right, cut ties with them and come back to the middle. So, with freedom of petition, you have that right to as a way to redress grievances, and every level of government has a set standard for how many signatures you need in order for a petition to be valid. And you can look that up in your local government code. The United States, I forget how many signatures are needed. I think 10 or 15,000 in order to get the petition heard. But really, you need hundreds of thousands of signatures to really get something going. I believe in California, Caitlyn Jenner ended up running for governor because of freedom of petition. Writing candidates for election, that's a form of petition. That's saying, we don't want these candidates. We want somebody who wasn't on the ballot. Daffy Duck and Mickey Mouse are very popular. Donald Duck running a close third, but they always seem to manage to pop up in elections. All right, and that's really all that can be said about petition. There's not a whole lot to it, and I don't think people think it's a very effective form of effective to get their concerns heard. Now, the right to peaceful assembly. Now, people forget that. It's not just you have the right to assemble. You have the right to peacefully assemble, okay? And a lot of people will argue that if a group gets together, regardless of where they're at, and they're peacefully assembled, they're not breaking the law. Well, that's not necessarily true. All right. They can be peacefully assembled, and if they're violating people's rights to, especially in like courthouses, city administration buildings, things like that, if they are preventing people from conducting lawful business, they are breaking the law. Now, the same thing happens. The most popular one is street takeovers. We're peacefully assembling in the street, and y'all can look on YouTube. You can see people getting pulled out of traffic. You can see people getting pushed with vehicles. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But the thing is, is when they say, well, we have the right to be here. We're peacefully assembled. You can't do anything to us. Well, yeah, you can. If you think about all those vehicles on the road that have either US DOT or state DOT labels on there, that means they work for hire, or they have some essential need or function where they need to travel inter or intrastate. Okay. If you impede that, what you are doing is you are actually violating the Commerce Clause of the 14th Amendment. All right. You are preventing free trade, and you are disrupting commerce. So when you do that on a federal level, you could face charges. Now, on a state level, and certain counties here in Texas, I think overuse this, but you can be charged with obstructing a roadway, impeding traffic, fail to use the sidewalk. And I've gone pretty deep into transportation code. And when I found that one, I was like, I never had the opportunity to use it. And the other one was pedestrian and roadway. Now, if you go to certain sheriff's office Facebook pages here in Texas, and you look up their mugshots, and they show you what somebody was arrested for, I challenge you to, when you do that, if they have pedestrian in the roadway and they don't look like they've been run over by a truck, I don't really know what's going on there, but most of the time, and this is just a sophisticated, educated guess, that there was a fight, the offender lost, and instead of charging them with obstruction, resisting arrest, something like that, they charge them with pedestrian in the roadway. Because I have no doubt they ended up in the roadway, but that's neither here nor there. All right, y'all, I'm running a little bit out of time today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop there with petition and assembly. And anyway, yeah, so I'm going to stop there. That pretty much takes care of freedom of petition, freedom of assembly. But I'm going to come back at you with freedom of religion video. It's going to be a little longer. It's going to be a little more in depth, but I think you're going to enjoy it. Like I said, I hope this video has been informative and everything. I know there's not really a whole lot to it, but stick around because the next 3 get really exciting. Y'all take care. Please like and subscribe. Share this on your favorite social media. Share it with your fellow crime fighters and true crime junkies. Love to see this channel grow. I have fun doing this. It's a lot of fun for me, but it's also fun to see people who enjoy my videos. Y'all stay safe.